What's up, people, places, and things? This is your YouTube channel, Poke Arena, bringing you some more Pokemon trading card game online content. Today we're going to be playing Da Boys. Da Boys! Da Boys being Falinks and Falinks V. Falinks V has the awesome ability Iron Defense Formation, which can really make all of our Pokemon a little bit more tanky. And the ability reads, all your Pokemon that have Falinks in their name take 20 less damage from your opponent's attacks. This is really awesome because if we have 4 Falinks V on the battlefield, it would have to force our opponent to deal 240 damage just to take a knockout on a 2-prizer, which is really cool and honestly very rare for a lot of decks. It's even more awesome though because Falinks being a 1-prizer, only having 90 HP isn't great, but if we combine it with Big Charm, it brings our total HP up to 120, making our opponent have to deal 200 or more damage to knock out a 1-prizer Pokemon on our side of the field. Since this deck only plays 4 Pokemon, we have to have a lot of things that search out cards or search out specific Pokemon in general. So to do that, we play 4 Acro Bike, which makes us look at the top 2 cards of our deck, put one of them into our hand and discard the other. We have Quick Ball to search for a basic Pokemon. We have Sonia, which is really interesting, because it searches our deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, or 2 basic energy if we do need to do that. Reveal them and put them into our hand. And other cards we play, like Capture Energy, really help this deck too, because when you attach this card from our hand to a Pokemon, search our deck for a basic Pokemon and then put that onto the bench. Falinks V's attack though, Team Attack, does 30 damage for each of our bench Pokemon that have Falinks in the name. So if we have a full bench of Falinks and Falinks V, this attack does 150 damage, and if we go second on our first turn and attach a Twin Energy to this puppy, we're able to do 150 damage, possibly knocking out one of our opponent's Pokemon on our first turn, which you don't see every day unless you're playing Pika-Rom, but if you're playing Pika-Rom, you're just trying to get quick KOs in the format right now. It is such an easy deck to play, and honestly, this deck counters against that, so I'm hoping we go up against some Pika-Roms. But before we jump into a game, I do want to explain a little bit more of the deck, like Crushing Hammer. Everyone knows what Crushing Hammer does. Flip a coin, if heads, discard an energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. Even though it's a gamble, we really want to disrupt our opponent from being able to have energies on their side of the field as we struggle with energy acceleration. That's why we play one off of the team Yell Grunt 2, which puts an energy from our opponent's Pokemon into their hand. Other disruption, we have Tool Scrapper to discard tools against our opponent's Pokemon. And other search cards, we have our Cynthia Caitlin to put a supporter card from our discard pile back into our hand. And then also, if we discard a card while doing that, we draw 3 cards ourselves. We play Guzmahala to search for a stadium like Martial Arts Dojo, and if we discard 2 other cards, we get a Pokemon tool and a special energy card in this way. And we actually want to be having Guzmahala at our access because we do play 8 special energies, 4 capture energies, and 4 twin energies. And then we do play 5 tools in this deck. We play 2 air balloons to cover the retreat cost of Falinks V. We play 2 big charms, like I said, so we can bump our Falinks' HP up to 120. And then we play the one-off of the Karate Belt, just so in case we have to attack with our Falinks V, we can have the 3 attack costs go down to 2 if we're down on prizes. And 210 damage for 2 energy is honestly not that bad. The only other things in this deck are our Ordinary Rod, so we can get our Falinks and Falinks V back into the deck. We also play Boss's Orders to switch our opponent's bench Pokemon with one of their active. And other than that, I think we've covered it. We also play our classic switch cards. We only play 2 of them because we don't need to be switching out a lot. And with that, let's jump into a game and see what these boys can do. So we're on to our first match of the video. We're going to be playing up against a water deck, it looks like, and I assume it's going to be an Inteleon the deck. We'll have to wait and see. We don't get the best start here. In fact, we kind of get a terrible start. But we're going to see what we can do. We do have the air balloon, which is nice, and our opponent does mulligan, so we're able to see what he's playing. And he's definitely playing some sort of water variant deck. And we're just going to have to wait and see. The reason I think it is Inteleon V is because of the dark energy. We do want to draw a card. We don't get what we want to see, but like I said, we're playing against the classic dreaded Inteleon V. Inteleon V kind of does hurt us a little bit, but we do take less damage with Iron Defense formation, so we're just going to have to see what our opponent does. Our opponent discards a Super Scoop Up, which is nice because that card is very annoying, and grabs a Snom because they want to be accelerating as much energy as they can be. And let's see what our opponent gets off the Stellar Wish. I'm very interested to see what he's looking at. It could be something like a Switch, it could be something like another Quick Ball, maybe even an Evolution Incense, but I'm just waiting patiently because I'm trying to think what we want to be doing. He does in fact grab a Switch. I think what we have to do here is play a Capture Energy, but what I'm going to see what we can do is attach the air balloon here. We're going to want to Acro Bike to try to get our Falinks V, but we don't get it. So we're gonna grab the air balloon here. We're going to just play down a Capture Energy here and grab one of our baby Falinks. And we're gonna pass with that. There's not much we can do when we only get one of our Falinks out on the field right now, and especially not being able to attach an energy to it. But it is what it is, and we're just going to have to see what our opponent does. Our opponent does play down the Volcanion Prism Star, which is really nice. They do have the Crushing Hammer, which does affect us a tiny bit, but not too much. As long as we keep our Falinks V on the field, we should be okay. Our opponent's going to have trouble knocking out our Falinks V because even if they do get the 3 energy up, we do take 20 less damage. But our opponent's just going to Dedenne, see what they're going to be doing. And they're keeping their Pokemon on the bench so that they can accelerate it with Frostmoth's ability, Ice Dance, which as often as they like, they're able to just grab energy from their hand and plop it onto any Pokemon they want. Our opponent is going to Marnie, which does hurt. I don't love it, but it's not terrible. We do get a Capture Energy, and we do get some Draw Supporters, which is nice. And we do keep our Air Balloon on our Pokemon, so we're going to just have to see what our opponent does. Our opponent possibly will get the complete energy, but maybe not, and he doesn't, so he's just going to pass. So what we're going to do here is play down a Capture Energy onto Falinks. We're going to grab a Falinks V. We're going to Acro Bike before he Professor's Research, and we're going to grab a Martial Arts Dojo. We're going to put down the Martial Arts Dojo and Professor's Research away. And we actually do get more Falinks, which is really cool. We're going to be ending up Quick Balling away the Sonia, because we don't really need that right now, and we're going to be grabbing a Falinks V. Putting another Falinks V on the bench. And then we're going to retreat into Falinks and call for family and grab our last Falinks V so we can take as much less damage as we can. And what my plan is for next turn is to attach that Twin Energy onto Falinks V or another Capture Energy onto Falinks, and making us be able to take as less damage as we can and deal as much damage as we can. Our opponent does have the bucket though, which is going to be able to make our opponent accelerate as much damage as they can. I'm curious to see what happens to Max Bullet, as I don't think it will do any damage, but we will just have to see what the function of max bullet is. And our opponent is thinking about what they're doing. They might even Hydro Snipe here, which would be interesting. But what I'm really hoping for is a fighting energy if we can get one, and for our Falinks to survive, but that's not going to happen. Our Falinks does take the knock. Since we didn't have any big charm attached to it, Falinks does take the knockout, and it did have that extra damage counter on it. So what we're going to do here is attach the twin energy. We're going to... This is very interesting. I think we're going to Cynthia Caitlin away the capture energy and grab ourselves a Professor's Research. That being because we're not really able to kind of get a knockout unless they do in fact have another Zigzagoon or Scoop Up net. The only tool on the field is the air balloon, so we're not going to tool scrapper. We're just going to team attack for 150. It really does stink going up against VMAXs sometimes without that fighting energy on. But we are down on prizes, so if we do get a fighting energy attached, we will be able to deal some damage. But we actually do take damage counter on our Falinks V, which is unfortunate. But I'm not too worried because this deck does like to play behind, and I'm curious to see if we can do that in... I'm just curious to see if we can do that. Part of me wishes we did grab the big charm, but he's actually going to promote our Falinks V, which is interesting. And they're going to max bullet, and we actually only take 80 damage onto that Falinks V, which is nice. We do get another twin energy, which is also very nice. And we're going to Guzma Hala away the Quick Ball and the Sonia. Actually, no, we're going to Quick Ball away the Tool Scrapper. And we're going to grab ourselves a Air Balloon, a Twin Energy, and a Martial Arts. Actually, do we need to be grabbing that much? I'm trying to think here. We definitely want to grab the Air Balloon, but I don't think we want to grab the Twin Energy just yet. And we will grab the Martial Arts Dojo just in case. So we're going to be grabbing those two things right here. We're going to be attaching the Air Balloon and then retreating into our other Falinks and then doing team attack. And the only thing I'm really worried about here is the scoop up. Sorry, the super scoop up, I should say. Because with the super scoop up, he will be able to just negate all that damage. And like I said, we're hoping that he does get the tails here, which he does, thank goodness. We got a little lucky there. But, you know, that's the luck of the draw sometimes when you're playing cards that rely on heads. It would be cool if we had a stadium that made trainer cards guarantee the heads, but I'm curious to see what my opponent does. They're definitely a little shell-shocked here and not really knowing what to do, but they decide to switch, and they're going to Stellar Wish here. And with the Stellar Wish, they do grab the Evolution Incense, but they don't really have anything that they can evolve into. So we're going to Ice, they're going to Ice Dance here, attaching another energy onto Inteleon VMAX, which is very interesting. I assume to save it and then to Professor's Research away. They're going to try to scoop up net again, and they do fail, which is just not good. I'm going to give them a broken heart there because that is just sad. But as you can see, we're being very tanky with this build, and we're forcing our opponents to really scratch their heads here with a deck that's not very common and a deck that, frankly, doesn't get enough play. Even though we only do that 150, it really does put our opponent into a sticky situation. But our opponent is going to scoop up net the Jirachi here. I'm curious to see if they have another scoop up net in hand, which they could. They're going to switch and put down to the Jirachi again. And I assume they're searching for their super scoop ups as they play, I assume 3, and I didn't actually get to see what they grabbed there, but they're going to grab the Crushing Hammer, and they're just getting Tails, because Tails never fails unless Tails makes your person fail. And he's just putting a smiley face and passing with that. So we're going to grab the adventure bag here, and we're going to grab our big charm and the karate belt. We actually ended up prizing one of our big charms, but that's okay. We're going to place down a karate belt there, and we're going to Sonia here and grab 2 fighting energies. And we're going to attach a fighting energy onto the Falinks, and we're going to team attack so that we do more damage onto our opponent's Pokemon. And with that, we grab the switch, which is not too shabby. And even if our opponent does grab a crushing hammer, we're able to kind of put another fighting energy onto that. So I'm curious to see what my opponent does here. They can't knock me out unless they switch into this Falinks or that Falinks. But even then, it'll be very interesting to see how my opponent approaches this. And the way he approaches it is with a Rage Quit. So that just shows the power of Falinks. Why don't we show the power a little bit more and jump into our next game. On to our next game with Falinks V. And it's looking like we're going up against a Psychic deck. It looks like a Mew box, which is not the best matchup for Falinks, I'm not going to lie, but we don't want to go first here at all, so we're going to pass to our opponent. And we actually do get a Falinks here, which is nice. There's not too many ways that we can search out Pokemon. The Acro Bike is going to help, but I'm very curious to see what type of deck build our opponent is playing. And they decide to put down the Mew on the bench just in case. And I guess we're going to see here what our opponent is playing with that Quick Ball. They could grab a Dedenne or they could grab something else, but I'm very curious to see, as they have plentiful of options, I'm assuming, because I doubt they prized 6 of their most important basic Pokemon. Imagine that actually happened, like you prizing 4 of something. We're actually playing against a Dragapult deck, which is again not the best because they're able to put down damage counters, so this is really going to be a test to Falinks. But maybe we can grab a Twin Energy and deal some damage to knock out our Jirachi, but we're going to just have to wait and see with that. So we do get another Falinks here. We're going to Acro Bike before anything and grab the Quick Ball. We're going to Quick Ball away the... Ooh, this is interesting. I'm going to Quick Ball away the Switch. And I really don't know if I want to... I'm going to do something really risky here. I'm going to put the Big Charm on the Falinks, and I'm actually just going to Professor's Research away the Fighting Energy. We do grab a Capture Energy, which is interesting. We're going to Crushing Hammer our opponent, and we do get the heads. We're going to Acro Bike here and see what we can get, and we do, in fact, get Boss's Order, which is nice. We're going to place down a Capture Energy onto Falinks, grab our Falinks V, and then with that, call for family, because that's all we can do, and grab the rest of our Falinks and put them onto the bench. And even though we couldn't attack that turn and deal some big damage, it is nice to be able to have a full bench on the field already. My only fear is that our opponent is going to deal some nasty damage against our Falinks, but we're just going to have to wait and see. That energy removal did really help, but they actually do play the Inkay. So we're just going to have to wait and see what our opponent does. Our opponent does play the Dragapult VMAX. And they also play the Switch. So I'm curious to see if they have an energy attachment or even a supporter at that point, because it would really be unfortunate if my opponent couldn't do much after this. But he does play the Quick Ball. I'm curious to see if he grabs the Dedenne. He does grab the Dedenne, so we will be seeing more of what our opponent can do. But shout out to Deborah Downer for commenting on my last PTCGO video on recommending us to play Falinks. which brings us to my comment of the day. And the comment of the day is going to be, what products, being booster packs, blister packs, free pack blister packs, elite trainer boxes, booster boxes, what type of merchandise that involves packs do you want to see me open on this channel? Because I want to be doing some pack openings, and our opponent actually plays Big Charm. Like I said, I want to be doing some pack openings, which is very nice, and our opponent is just going to Stellar Wish here and grab the Professor's Research, and they're able to Professor Research their hand. I think they're still looking for an energy, which is interesting, and they're just going to Professor's Research their hand, throw away a lot. They have 2 Boss's Orders already in the discard pile. They do grab the Horror Energy, which is nice, and they're just going to switch here and shred away and knock out my Falinks because it is weak, which is just unfortunate. We do really struggle against this deck, but it is what it is. So we're going to throw up a Martial Arts Dojo, we're going to put a Falinks there, and then we're going to Professor's Research here. If I did keep my Pokemon there, I would have done a little bit more, but with that, you know, we really couldn't. But we're going to retreat here and promote the Falinks. We're going to Adventure Bag here as well and grab a Balloon and a Karate Belt. And we're going to place the Balloon there, we're going to place the Karate Belt there, and hopefully we can be doing some big damage with Falinks V very soon. I'm not going to Ordinary Rod just yet, but what I am going to do is Team Attack for as much damage as I can, and it's only going to be 120, and honestly, that doesn't really matter. But I'm curious to see what we can be doing against our opponent. The Big Charm is very interesting. I haven't seen too many Dragon Ball builds do that. But our opponent's just going to grab another NK, and I assume that they have another energy in hand as well to be dropping some damage counters on our Pokemon. But again, we really do struggle against this type of deck. Our opponent evolves their NK into the Malamar, puts down another Dragon Ball V. They're going to Psychic Recharge here onto the Dragon Ball V, attach another Psychic Energy there, and definitely knock out our Falinks. But before they do that, they're going to Cynthia. And with that, they're going to Max Phantom, destroy our Falinks, and with that, they're going to deal 5 damage counters onto the Falinks V. So we're just going to put up a regular Falinks there. We're going to grab our Sonia. We're going to grab those 2 energies. We're going to Ordinary Rod away and do both, I guess, if we can. I don't even think we can. We might be able to do both. No, yeah, we have 1 fighting energy into our discard pile. We're going to put the fighting energy onto the Falinks V and really hope that our opponent doesn't have the Boss's Orders in hand. But if he does, you know, well played to our opponent, well played to his Heart of the Cards. But we're really just going to have to see what happens. What's really nice is that I don't think our opponent has any other Psychic Energy in the discard pile, which he doesn't, but I assume he has another Psychic Energy in hand. But they're going to Pokemon Communication away to grab that Dragon Ball VMAX. And definitely do that. And attach the energy, but again, they're not attaching basic Psychic Energy, so I'd be surprised if we're able to grab anything there, but they actually bosses up this Falinks instead. So I think with that, they just win the game. We're going to be trying our best to do what we can, but honestly, it doesn't look good here. Well, I'm just going to give our opponent the well played, attach here, and just Giga Impact. And we don't even knock out, which is just sad because of the big charm. But it is what it is. Our opponent's just going to knock us out here. I'm just going to give him the well played, give him a little heart. Give him a heart till they decide to end me. End me! End me! I'm asking you to end me! And they do, the Max Phantom. So you can see there that this deck really does struggle against what I consider the best deck in the format, being Dragon Ball VMAX. And, you know, they play the very consistent build. Definitely not the Gengar build that I was trying to show off. But with that, we got 1 win, 1 loss. Let's see if we can get 1 last win on our last match with Falinks. On to the last match with Falinks. And it looks like we might be going up against a either could potentially be a Cinderace VMAX deck or possibly a Blacephalon deck. But would we like to go first? No, we would not, because we want the second turn. And we don't get the best of hand here. So we're going to place down the Falinks here. And we're going to see what happens, but our opponent actually does mulligan. So we're going to see a closer look at their deck. And it's looking like a very welder-based deck. So I'm very interested to see what exactly type of welder deck they're playing. They could be doing a whole welder box. Well, we're going to draw there, and we do get a fighting energy, but it doesn't help us out too much. But they are actually playing Blacephalon. This is a matchup that I really do enjoy playing, but they're going to attach the fire energy and just pass. So with that, we're going to place down our Falinks V, going to Martial Arts Dojo here, and we're going to Crushing Hammer here and see if we can get that. We do, in fact, get that. I'm now curious to see what type of cards we can get into our deck. So I'm actually just going to Professor's Research here, and the reason being is because if we can get that Donk, which we might be able to do if we get extremely lucky, we're going to Quick Ball away to Cynthia and Caitlin. We're going to grab ourselves another Falinks V. And we're just going to Acro Bike here, and we get the Big Charm instead. So we're going to put the Big Charm onto Falinks V, and then we're going to pass for the turn. I don't see our opponent getting the knock on our Falinks, although he very well could. But he's going to grab that fire energy back. So that wasn't a big deal from him. He's going to Welder onto the Blacephalon. And he actually decides to Welder onto this Blacephalon, which is very interesting. I'm curious to see what my opponent is thinking of doing. And they actually grab the Fiery Flint and use it. And they're going to discard a Quick Ball and a Blacephalon and grab 4 Fire Energy, which is huge. I do think they're able to get a knock with that, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And they actually decide to pass. So with that, we're going to place down our Falinks, and we're definitely going to Ordinary Rod here and grab the energy back because, you know, it's good to have the fighting energy in the deck. And we're just going to Professor's Research. We do see another Crushing Hammer here, but what we don't see is the Air Balloon or a Switch. So we're going to Acro Bike and see if we can get that. We actually get the Guzmahala here. So we're going to grab the Guzmahala. We're going to Crushing Hammer here, and we do succeed, and we get rid of one of their fire energy. And we're just going to put a Capture Energy onto one of our Falinks here on the bench, and pass with that. I'm curious to see what our opponent does, but it looks like they're playing a very well, I say that, but they do grab the Elder Gloss, so they will grab another Welder in hand. And I'm just really curious to see what type of Blacephalon build my opponent is playing. because he could be playing a bunch of different techs like the Fion. But again, it really all depends. It didn't look like he was playing Oricorio. But, you know, again, we just really have to see. But he's going to Blazer here. And he does get the fire energy, but the damage is 0 because we take 60 less. So we're going to attach a... We're actually going to save the capture energy. What we're going to do here is we're going to Guzmahala. We're going to search our deck for a stadium, and we're going to get rid of the capture energy and the quick ball. And we're going to grab ourselves another martial arts dojo, a air balloon, and a twin energy. So with all that, we're going to attach the air balloon to our Falinks V. We're going to retreat into, let's say, we'll do one of our regular Falinks just now, because if we need to tank up damage, then we can, but we're just going to team attack for the knock. And then, as you can see, our opponent got a very slow start with their Blacephalon. We actually do get the Karate Belt there, which is nice, which is definitely something I was looking for, and didn't note when I Guzmahala'd. But my opponent definitely can knock out my Falinks here if they choose to, which I assume they will, but they do have to do the correct math. We're going to Acro Bike here. I assume they really need to be putting up more Blacephalons. And they Fire Crystal to grab all their energy back, so I would be very surprised if they couldn't knock out this Falinks right now. And honestly, Blacephalon is knocked out harder to kill Pokemon before, but he does get the knockout there, and we're just going to promote our other Falinks. And we do get the fighting energy here, which is nice. We're going to attach the Karate Belt there, and we're going to Cynthia and Caitlin and put a support card from our discard pile into our hand, and we're going to grab the Professor's Research. We do draw some cards there. We're going to attach another air balloon onto our Pokemon, and with this we're just going to team attack and knock out our opponent's only Pokemon that they can attack at the moment. We're going to grab the Quick Ball, which isn't really helpful. And honestly, thinking about now using that Ordinary Rod so fast, I might want to do some more I can't think right now, some more Ordinary Rods into the deck because we use it so early on, like I literally just said. But our opponent decides to quit there, and that's going to be the last game. And like I said, even against decks like Blacephalon, this deck can just do just enough damage, and I'm really happy to be showing this deck off. So if you enjoyed the Falinks build, make sure to leave a comment down below, like the video, subscribe, answer the question of the day, and with that, stay safe and peace out now, nation.